everybody, I'm Aaron Simmons. This is Philosophy for Where We Find Ourselves, January 30th, 2023. Before we dive in today, again, please go check out my new website, jaronsimmons.com, and get subscribed there to my email newsletter, the first issue of which will be going out just in a couple days. So please get subscribed so that you can take advantage of the exclusive content that will be available there. Additionally, if you are a regular viewer of my YouTube channel, I would definitely appreciate it if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button here. I am making a push to cross 1,000 subscribers in the next few weeks, and I need your help to do it. So get subscribed to my newsletter on my website, jaronsimmons.com, and then also here on the YouTube channel, Philosophy for Where We Find Ourselves, so that we can continue to think together and that we can make sure that you are aware of anything that I post, any new content that becomes available. All right, so today I want to make a quick video about how Martin Heidegger, a 20th century German phenomenologist, can help us make sense of something as trivial and mundane as being treated poorly on our job. How many of you have experienced the idea of being treated like a thing? Not seen as a person, not understood and appreciated as somebody who has something to contribute, a unit of moral dignity, but instead just as an employee, just as something to be seen and abused, used and used up. Maybe your boss doesn't even see you really as a person, but just as an object to achieve their particular business goal. That sucks, and it is a horrible way to find ourselves living. Well, how possibly could Heidegger speak to this? At the beginning of Being and Time, Heidegger suggests that in order to think about the question of the meaning of being, we have to figure out how to get started in that process. And he says that we can't ask a question about being as such because being is not a being. Now, I know that sounds bizarre, but what he means is being is not an object. It's that by which all beings are what they are. And so therefore, it's not a specific entity, a specific thing all of its own. Being, he says, is the being of a being. So the goal is to inquire into a particular being in such a way that it reveals to us the way being more broadly functions, the way it works. Well, what being possibly could we inquire into in order to get a sense of being more broadly? The name he gives to this being is Dasein. Dasein, he says, is that being among all the different types of beings, trees and puppies and shoelaces and leaves and houses and notebooks and Yeti cups. Among all the types of beings, Dasein is that being who has its being as a question. In other words, it is the being who is wrestling with existential issues. It's the being that asks to be or not to be. It's the being that tries to figure out what it means to be oneself. What being is that? Heidegger says it is us. It is human being. It is that being that we occupy. In each case, that defines us because we walk around and say, what is the point of my life? What am I going to do with my time? What is the goal of existence? Like Hamlet, we ask whether or not existence matters. Like Camus, we say whether or not we should commit suicide is of fundamental importance. Dasein names the mode of being that we are. So for Heidegger, Dasein is distinctive among all beings because it is not simply a thing. It is instead a being who is able to take seriously different types of beings. Things, but also other Dasein. We can recognize that another person, another Dasein, is not simply a leaf or a cup or a tree or a notebook. When we are treated as mere objects, mere things, we fail to live into what he calls the ontological significance or distinctiveness that actually distinguish who we are. So when your boss treats you like an object, treats you like a thing, makes you nothing but an employee, your boss is actually really bad at being Dasein. Because being Dasein, being the being we are, invites us to be excited and invested and wrecked by the fact that we are not alone. We share our world, our context. We share it with others. And those others include mere things, but also includes other beings like us who are distinctive, who are interesting, and who wrestle with what it means to be themselves. So, this is not ultimately an ethical claim. It is what Heidegger describes as a descriptive, ontological, phenomenological claim. It might open on to ethics, as it does for people like Levinas and others. But for us, I think it's cool to learn from Heidegger that when your boss or your neighbor or someone you meet at Walmart treats you like a mere object, a thing in their way, they in fact are failing to be appropriately aware of the very type of being we are. Maybe we can get better at that. Heidegger himself notoriously made some horrible, grotesque, evil mistakes. In light of World War II, in light of National Socialism, he sided with the wrong way of seeing others, especially his Jewish others. But his philosophy can be deployed to critique Heidegger's own lived actions. And it can help us be more invested in why it matters that we see each other, not as objects, but as beings who are themselves invested in figuring out what it means to live on purpose. We have our being as a question, and that makes all the difference. I hope this is helpful. I hope it inspires you to think more deeply about the stuff that shows up all around us. All right, I'll see you next time, unless a piano falls on our heads.